Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review we are looking at the NECA quarter scale Arkham Knight Batman figure, which is pretty fantastic. Before we get into the review, I'm sure you guys are curious how he looks up against the Arkham Origins Batman, and I'll try to get a photo of them together at the end, because they're so big it's kind of hard to get them in frame. But we're going to move the camera back right now real quick, so you can take a peek at just the two of them. And they're pretty much the same size. Right now I have Arkham Knight Batman's legs a little bit wider apart, so he looks a little bit shorter. He might be anyways, just by the tiniest of margins, so I wouldn't really worry about that. They're going to look pretty good next to each other. But just for some reference, if you haven't seen my Arkham Origins Batman review, I suggest you check it out. But this guy right here was a pretty fantastic figure, and this one makes that one not look so fantastic. So if you get my drift, this guy is pretty super fantastic. He's really well done. It's pretty incredible. Alright, let's do a height measurement, and I only have a 12-inch ruler, so we're gonna have to... Alright, so to that ab plate he's 12, and then he's got 7.5 to the top of his ears. For those of you that aren't the best at math, that's 19.5 inches, so he's definitely got some size to him. Pretty darn impressive. And he's got a great look to him. If you look really close at the face, those eyes look real. They did a really good job. Let me move it closer a little bit so you can see the paint in the iris, and then the flesh tones around it. It looks just like it did in the game. Really well done. And then the flesh tones are way better on this one. They've stepped up their game so much, and obviously they're learning as they go in this quarter scale, but this one is pretty remarkable. Alright, before we get into the figure anymore, let's look at the accessories, because I know you guys like those. He has two fist hands on either side in the package. He also comes with one that looks like another fist hand, but it's actually, come on focus, it's actually a batarang hand. So that means he needs to come with a batarang, which he does. And the cool thing about this batarang is that it is collapsible. So that's pretty nifty. Collapsible and highly detailed. And he holds it really well. No problem at all having him hold that batarang. We also have the grapnel gun, which is kind of cool because it has the moving handle. It's pretty nifty, looks pretty accurate. And we also have a clip for that, which you can hang on his belt and put the grapnel gun on there. And then what would be a grapnel gun without the hook part, or the claw part. So these all have little hinges on them. They don't have the hugest range of motion, but you can open them up a little bit. And of course that pegs in there, so you can pose him with that if you want to. And his hand for holding that works pretty darn well. Just pry the thumb up a little bit so you don't rub the plastics too much. And you can push that in there, and voila, he holds it perfectly nicely. So that's pretty cool. So we have two alternate hands, the batarang, the grapnel gun, and the hook, and the clip for the grapnel gun. So he's got enough accessories. I would have liked two open hands, kind of like the style pose hands, you know, just kind of, well, you can't see my hands, but they're open. That would have been cool, but it's not necessary. And the rest of this guy is pretty darn good, so I'm happy with that. The paint job on this guy, I already showed you the face. You can see we have some varying blacks. The shoulder pads are slightly glossy. Maybe not glossy, but they have a nice reflective finish to them. It's all slightly metallic, so that's pretty good. The silver is really metallic. We have all the little rivets painted and all the little brackets and things. The torso has lots of rivets and more silver details. Sculpt work also is on point. All of this honeycomb is actually textured, sculpted honeycomb, so that's pretty cool. The rivets themselves have a real nice look to them. They look real, so that's cool. The forearms, or the gauntlets, have all the right details, and you can see lots of little details, and all the main details are in there, so that's pretty nifty. And we already saw the hands a little bit as we were doing the accessories. The belt has lots of painted detail and different finishes, so that's cool. We have more of the honeycomb down here in the silvers and grays. And then the boots also have all of those smaller details painted in, and we have the shinier black on the inside there to contrast the rest of it. So it's pretty cool. And then, not really paint, but kind of finishing, we have the cape, which I don't think anybody has made accurately yet until now. So we have the cape, which has the top layer, which has that kind of different finish on it with the bat kind of pattern. And then we have that second layer, which if you played the game, you know we had the top, then the middle, and then another one. So we have another layer, and then we have that bottom layer at the very bottom. So that's pretty cool that they added those details and made it look the way it was supposed to. No one else has ever done that yet. The other cool thing about the cape, other than it's a nice material and it's made well, is you can have it come out of the back of the shoulder pad here, so you have just the normal pose like this where the cape is out back, or you can kind of reach in there and unfold it, untuck it, and you can bring the cape all the way out down on the side like you could, or not like you could, but like he had sometimes in the game. So that'll be really handy for posing. Another feature, and you can do that on both sides of course, another feature which it probably wasn't intentionally made to be a feature, but you can see it's hemmed on all of the sides, even on the bottom, though I don't know how practical it'll be for this. You could put a wire in there, at least on the sides, like I said, maybe on the bottom. The points might be a problem. But you probably, without doing anything to the figure, could insert a small wire in there to help pose the cape. If nothing else, you could have it come down at least at a little bit of a shaped curve rather than just letting it hang limp, which would be pretty cool. I haven't tried it yet, but if I do, and if it works, I'll definitely let you guys know. Okay, so let's talk about articulation. Now, I'm not 100% sure on some of these pieces because I don't want to force them and possibly break them, but for the most part, I have a pretty good understanding of the articulation. So let's take a look. So for the head, we have a double ball peg for the head itself that lets the head rotate. Mostly, the way it's sculpted, which is accurate, it limits the articulation a little bit, but you can look down. You can, let's move the camera up a little bit. You can look up. It's just not that much, so it's good enough. And then you can lean the head from side to side, which gives him a little bit of attitude, but that works out nicely. And then the neck, I'm not sure how the neck is connected to the torso, but the neck is articulated. You can move the neck with the head, so it might just be a swivel, it might be a ball peg, I'm not sure, but it does have some play in there. It might not even be meant to be moved, but it can, so I guess that's a good thing. It probably was intentional. Shoulder pads are not actually articulated, they're just soft, so they won't get in the way, and you can see the cape. This is actually the cape up here, it comes all the way around and connects up here, just like it did in the game. I really like that they made it so that you can fold it up and then tuck it away. That's such a cool feature, and you can just lift the shoulder pad up to do that. So like I said, it's not really articulation, but we can get the cape out of there and do it however you want to. So let's look at the shoulder then. Shoulder has a giant ball hinge, ratcheted ball hinge, you can see that there, and it's on a butterfly. So that butterfly lets the arm come all the way forward, and the chest is nice and soft. You can't really tell by looking at it, but the chest is soft, so you can bring the arm around and kind of squish the chest and bring the arm closer to the front of the body. And you can't really tell too much because the way the chest collapses, it just kind of tucks under the biceps. So if you wanted to put him in a pose with his arm going across the chest, you can do that a little bit better. Otherwise, you would have the chest all the way out here and the arm wouldn't be able to get closer than that. So that's pretty cool. So we have the butterfly, the full ball hinge, rotation and everything, bicep swivel. So pretty much all your standard shoulder articulation that you can expect from just about any line of figures, you have that in the shoulder. We have the double hinged elbow, which looks good while it's out, and you can bring it all the way up. Really good range of motion. It's basically the same as a good Marvel Legends figure, but on a really bulky figure, so they did a good job with that. Then we have our forearm swivel, which lets us change the angle of the gauntlet, so that's pretty nifty. You can use that probably. And then of course the wrist can rotate independently of that forearm swivel, so you shouldn't have really any trouble posing the hands at all, or forearms. And I can show you that the hands, they swivel on the peg obviously, because that's how they interchange, but they also have the hinge in there as well. Now for the torso, this is another part where I'm not 100% sure just because I can't get in there without risking damage to the figure, and for such a cool figure I don't want to do that. I believe it's a double ball peg from this piece to this piece, which lets this one go forward and back and side to side and rotate. I don't want to force it too much because I don't want to probably pose that part too much anyway, just because it looks so good the way it is. This part down here is also a double ball peg, so you can ab crunch there. You can rotate some, but due to the shape, it doesn't have that much range. You can also lean from side to side there. So I think I'm going to use that for most of the torso articulation. but they do have both double ball pegs. I don't believe the waist is articulated. If it is, mine is super frozen and just happened to be lined up perfectly, because right now it won't move at all. I can't say for sure that it's supposed to be like that, but it sure feels like it's made to be like that. So I don't know, if you guys have a different experience with your figure, let me know. The belt and crotch piece is all soft plastic, so the hips won't really have too much trouble. Now you have two options with the hips. You can either tuck the leg underneath the crotch piece and move them around like this, which works for most poses that aren't too dynamic, and that way it keeps it nice and seamless. But what you're probably going to end up doing when you really need to bring the leg up is tucking that piece back underneath. Tuck the shorts, or whatever you want to call them, underneath the thigh, and you should be able to get the leg up even higher. Now I don't want to force mine because I'm not going to put it in crazy poses anyway, but I did earlier, and you can bring the leg almost all the way out. You will flex these pieces here, but the leg does technically keep going forward at least 2 more spaces, 2 more notches. So that's pretty good. It's a ratcheted ball hinge, pretty much standard articulation for any articulated figure. It's just really big, and you can bring the leg all the way out to the side also. And we have our thigh swivel built in. So if you're familiar with Marvel Legends, it's basically that same articulation, just ratcheted and on a really big figure. And you can just kind of reach in there and untuck that crotch piece, and you're good to go. Now we have also our double jointed knees, just standard joint again, but works really well on this guy. They did a good job with that. And then for the ankle, we have just a double ball peg, but it works really well. You can bring the feet, let's use this one. You can bring the foot down and in a little bit for an ankle rocker. These pieces are nice and soft. You can bring the foot forward, all the way forward, all the way back. Of course, it doesn't have the greatest range, and since it is a ball peg, it can loosen up once you pose them, so you're gonna have to be careful as far as balance goes, but it's definitely effective. I've had him pose just fine, and he seems to be, at least of the quarter scale NECA figures that I've handled, he seems to be the most stable, and his articulation, I think, is probably the most effective. I'm really pleased with this guy so far. I haven't had him for that long, obviously. I just got him like an hour ago in the mail, but everything I've seen so far I really like. I suppose if I had to come up with a complaint, and this is a fair one, the shoulder pads should technically have like a carbon fiber effect on them. That would have looked really cool, but I can understand that at the price point they probably couldn't get that done. And it's already an absolutely incredible figure for the price point. I don't understand how NECA can do this without going bankrupt. It's just absolutely amazing the quality of a figure that they can create for $100 or $80 or $120, depending on where you go. I think probably 100 is about the standard, the MSRP. But yeah, Big Bad Toy Store should be getting theirs in soon, so if you guys want to get one and don't want to hunt it down or anything like that, just check out BBTS. There's a link in the description below. And just, I can't say enough how impressed I am with NECA for these quarter scale figures. Like I said, the Arkham Origins Batman one was already incredibly impressive, and this guy blows that guy out of the water. So I don't understand how they're able to do it. For those of you that are curious what he looks like on the back, it is fully finished all the way down the back too. So I guess I could show you before we go. This can just clip on to his belt. Well, one problem with reviewing these bigger figures is that they're big. So there you go. Yeah, well, I undid it. There you go. It clips right on his belt, pretty much anywhere you want to, and then you can put the gun in there. So pretty nifty, tucks in nicely. I like it. I'm really, really pleased with this figure. I recommend it 100%. I support NECA 100%, and I think you guys probably should too. This guy is a fantastic figure. There it is, guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can see my upcoming figure reviews, custom figures, and other good stuff. And in the meantime, keep collecting.